Okay, let's continue. After that, it says, when Vasantara took leave of his parents and was preparing to depart, his wife Madhi insisted to accompany him with her children Jali and Kana Jina. Now, when he was leaving, he was taking permission from his parents, and when he was about to depart, his wife and children, even they insisted on joining Vasantara. So Vasantara was not going alone, he was going with his wife and his children. See, it is given here. They left the palace in a royal chariot drawn by 4 horses. On the way, 4 Brahmins met him and begged for his 4 horses. Now this is his first, okay, understand, after, he leaves the palace, this is his first sacrifice, that when he was there, when his chariot had 4 horses, he met 4 Brahmins and they asked for his 4 horses. After giving the 4 horses to the Brahmins, when he began to fasten the girth tightly round his waist to put himself under the yoke and drag the carriage, there appeared 4 yakas in the form of red deer. Now, when he was about to pull, when he gave away his horses, now there was nothing that could actually pull his chariot. So, he was about to tie the girth round his waist and pull his chariot, his wife and his children, when suddenly, out of nowhere, these 4 red deers appeared and they started pulling the chariot. They put their shoulders under the yoke like well-trained excellent horses and drew his carriage. When Madhi was staring at them with joy and surprise, the Bodhisattva said. Now, when Madhi was actually surprised that how is it possible that suddenly out of nowhere these 4 red deers appeared and they are ready to pull the chariot. Now, when she was actually staring with surprise and joy, Bodhisattva is another name for Vasantara. He said, lo, the influence of the benevolent forest, of the hermitage, that the best of the deer extended hospitality to the forest guest so ardently. So he says here, see, finally, this is the influence of the forest. This is the way the forest welcomes you. That out of nowhere, these deers, they came and they showed us that they are welcoming us. Ardently, so readily. The queen, however, remarked, you may conceal your merits and say no, but I call this to be your influence. Now, Vasantara, he said, I'll read the whole thing. Like the laughing lotuses which surpass the beauty of the stars mirrored in the water, exposing so fully to the curious gaze of the radiant moon with its groping rays for the delightful titillation. He says here, see, you may conceal, according to forest, the way forest is welcoming, it is all because of you. He's telling his wife, and he says that you may hide your merits, you may hide your qualities, that you are a queen or whatever, but the forest, the way these laughing lotuses are, the water, the radiant moon, everything has fallen into place, and they all are ready to actually welcome the king and the queen, Vasantara and Pushapi here. On page number 73, when they were thus involved in the pleasant conversation, they encountered one more Brahmin beggar. Now, when they were actually talking to each other, they were actually engaged in a pleasant conversation. Who appeared? Another Brahmin beggar, second, who begged for the carriage. So Vasantara had to part with his carriage too. He then lifted his son Jali in his arms, and Madhi lifted Kanachana, and thus they continued their journey on foot. Now here it is clear that Jali was his son. So what he did, he actually, he lifted his son in his arms, and his wife lifted Kanachna in her arms. The sun was scorching. Scorching means it was very hot, unbearable. So the clouds overspread overhead to act as a canopy. Canopy is a shade. So here, when the sun was too hot and they were walking and they had nothing, no carriage, no horses. So what happened? Suddenly the clouds came over and they acted as a shade for Vasantara and his family. The trees extended their branches to offer them delicious fruits as an offering to their virtue of charity. And they had this beautiful quality of charity. And because of that, even the forest, or the trees, the plants, they were welcoming them. So the trees, what they did, they offered their branches, they came to them somewhat and they gave fruits as an offering. So whenever they were hungry, they got fruits from the trees. And when they longed for water, whenever they wanted some water, the lotus ponds appeared before them to quench their thirst. Further, I hope this much is clear. Please keep this in mind. Remember it and just practice it. Read it once at least. I'll just read 2-3 lines more. When they longed, okay, we've done that. Further, the Yakas shortened their path to protect them from exertion. So even the gods, they didn't wanted them to suffer. And what they did, they shortened their path so that they can directly reach to the place. Thus, treading through Suvarnagiritara, Kantivara, Mount Aranjagiri, Dhunuvita, the capital of Cheta, where his uncle ruled, Gandha Madana, the foot of Mount Vipula, to the river Ketumati, and then by crossing the river Nalika along the bank of Lake Mochalinda and further crossing a dense forest, they finally reached Vankagiri. I hope this much is clear. The places they've mentioned are pretty difficult, but we'll have to go through them. All the names are in Sanskrit and that's why they're a little difficult. Right, from here we'll continue. So finally they crossed all these places and they reached to the place Vankagiri, where they were supposed to live. Vankagiri is a forest. We'll continue from here in the next video. Just read the chapter so that you can understand the story. Right, thank you.